go by and
Good morning and welcome to the Berry County Board of Commissioners Committee of the Whole meeting for November 7th, 2023. If you would please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Limited public comment at this time. Any member of the public wishing to address the board may do so for up to 3 minutes.
Hello, Daryl Cheeseman, Castleton Township. I'm here today because you are interviewing for Parks and Rec Commission seats, and I want to make sure that you guys understand how valuable Debbie and Sarah are to our group. They both have professional backgrounds that lend themselves well to any number of things that we take on as projects at the Parks Commission. And they're both willing to roll up their sleeves and jump in knee-deep to help on any number of different projects that we're working on. So, nothing against the other two candidates. I don't know them from Adam, but I really want to see us keep Debbie and Sarah on the Parks Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Additional public comment?
Good morning, Joel Ibbotson, Rutland Township. The Health Department, who by the way is headed up by Colette Scrimger, as you all well know, who is a bold-faced liar, who came to this board and told the board, oh, we didn't miss any health inspections during COVID, and they're supposed to do 2 inspections per year. First year, they only did 1. She, as we have demonstrated to you in the past, abused her authority, amongst other things. I would encourage you all to read the responses to the latest Health Department survey. There's actually some new material even for me here. Let me just go through a few, and this is funny. Here's from Berry County. They are a burden more than help. It doesn't. It just waste of taxpayer dollars. Berry County needs its own health department. Eaton County can keep Colette Scrimger. Provides much needed education to the local communities on public health topics. One of 2 good comments out of many bad comments. Fire Colette. We don't need or want any of the above services. By being paired with Eaton County, there is no value for Berry County. I could go on and on and on. Here's some Eaton County responses. I was kind of surprised by this. Promoted the fear of COVID-19 by pushing the vaccine that caused my vaccine injury. No, government destroys everything they touch. I have zero desire to help them or to have them involved in the healthcare system whatsoever. The more government is involved, the worse it gets. First off, Berry County and Eaton County should not be together. They're different counties and they should have to swear them into office. So obviously this issue of her not taking an oath to the Constitution is not just a Berry County issue, this is an Eaton County issue as well. It should be a Board of Commissioners issue. You can go through this and it's quite colorful in the responses. I was impressed with how many responses there were, especially out of Berry County. Something else that to me, and this is probably going to make some unhappy people, but oh well. The health department is now putting, well, it was preferred pronouns, but now it's pronouns in their email signature. So you can be he, him, Z, them, or whatever and whatnot. And it's no, by the way, just so the board knows, you can't say preferred pronouns anymore because according to this link from the health department, there's been a shift away from the term preferred gender pronoun or PGP to using pronoun. This change was made just because a person's pronouns are not just preferred, they are the pronouns that must be used. Now, I would ask you if I walked into the health department with knuckles bigger than Mike Tyson and an Adam's apple and said that I was having a miscarriage and I think I needed to be treated for a prolapsed uterus, would they take me serious on that? Because if they don't know the exit system of me, how can we trust them with whatever the exit system is of a drain field in Berry County?
Thank you. Additional public comment? Hearing none, we'll move ahead with our agenda. Interviews for Parks Commission. We have 3 candidates to interview this morning. First up, Deborah Jensen.
Good morning.
Good morning. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and maybe your experience on the board currently and why you're a good fit to continue on that board.
Okay, I'm a Barry County resident, been in the county for 20 years now, brought up 3 kids in the county. We enjoy recreating, all sorts of different recreation, camping, hiking, boating, dog walking. So that's my kind of personal passion. In my work life, I am a landscape architect by trade. Worked for 12 years for a private landscape architecture company in East Grand Rapids, primarily focused on planning and design of public recreation and streetscapes. One of the things that you'll all be familiar with that I designed and oversaw the construction of is the Hastings Riverwalk that I'm quite proud of. So I now work for the DNR as a state park planner, so I do long-range planning for state parks across the state. So as I said, recreation is my passion, both personal and professional. I was on the original Parks and Recreation Board when the two was split quite a few years ago. Helped to implement the project at McEwen Bridge Park, which before we did that was pretty much just a boat launch and nothing else. I didn't even know it was a county property prior to that. So now I think we put that on the map. So. And then I came back to the board, now that it's a joint board 3 years ago. Really happy that we got the millage renewed. That was obviously a big deal. And one of the smaller projects that we've just implemented is putting up some signage on the trails at Charlton Park. Again, it's something that a lot of people don't know is there, but there's a really nice hiking trail system that those in the know use, and we're hoping to promote that to the wider community. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Commissioner Getty, I'm going to let you lead with questions.
All right. First, I'll just echo Daryl's comments in public comment. Debbie and Sarah are both extremely valuable and bring a lot to our Parks Board. And so I do value the answer that she'll provide, because I think she has a good perspective from seeing statewide parks projects. But in the next 5 years, what do you see as our biggest challenge and our biggest opportunity for Berry County Parks?
Well, the biggest challenge, as with a lot of things, is probably funding. As I said, we're fortunate that the millage renewal passed, but we're still kind of, don't have enough resources to go around. There's a lot that goes into managing historic village. Think of your own house and how much maintenance goes into that. There are so many buildings there to maintain, and not only that, but the recreation area was primarily developed in the 60s and 70s with some grant funding, and there's been a few things that have been done since then, but there are a lot of needs out there. One of them that I'm very passionate about is accessibility, making sure that all people have access in terms of, barrier-free accessibility. So funding is one of our challenges. Another is just kind of the somewhat limited land that we have. We have, 2 parks and the trails. So we often hear that, people in the southeast of the county have less resources that are accessible to them. And I guess that brings me into the opportunities. I do like the grant funding program that the Parks and Recreation Board manages. We don't have a lot of money to give out, but I do feel that helps helps some of the local communities to make improvements in their parks in areas where the county doesn't have a footprint. Another thing two other things that we're working on as the board, we have just engaged with a consultant to do a site master plan for Charlton Park. As I said, it was developed in a long time ago, and to take a fresh look and look at the opportunities and how we can look towards the future in the park. And another thing that does is open the door to grant funding, which we know we're going to have to rely on for any significant improvements. So to have that overall kind of map to guide us is very helpful. And then the other big opportunity, we received some American Rescue Plan Act funding, as I'm sure you all know, for improvements to the Thornapple Trail. Most people are familiar with the paved trail section in Middleville. The county has 7 miles of trails, so to improve some of those sections and open that up more to use in areas like Nashville and around Thornapple Manor will be really big improvements to the county. We know that hiking and biking are 2 of the top activities of our residents, so being able to make those improvements is key.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Doster.
Have you ever visited the Bernard Museum?
I have not. I would say my interest in American history is growing. Initially when I moved over here, obviously I'm not from Michigan originally, it seemed like a pretty short history, but I am learning as I go. A lot of our state parks have some big time history, so things like Fayette State Park, which is an abandoned village, different to Charlton Park, but kind of the same concept. I have been to Bowen Mills, which I think kind of has a similar flair as well, but I have not been to.
Do you see any opportunities for cooperation between a park like that has its own historical village like the Bernard Museum and the county park?
That's a good thought. It's not something we have talked about. I know that Charlton Park partners with a number of other museums locally as far as promotion and visitation and events. So I can't comment specifically to that one, but definitely something to look into.
Thank you.
Yep. Mr. Colton.
This is more of an informational question, going back to the trail through Nashville. So I live in Nashville, and 25 years ago, the Paul Henry Trail that goes through Nashville, I got my first political tar and feathering over that, the first of many, by the way. And there was a lot of opposition to developing that. What now is the timeline of the improvements to that trail within the village of Nashville?
Well, we're in the design phase right now. We're currently reviewing the plans that the consultant has given us, and reviewing the cost estimates. We're pretty sure we're not going to have the funding to do everything we need, but I think Nashville is going to be the first priority because there's already a piece that's been paved up to the school, and it's a population center. So all being well, once we figure out what we can afford, we will be going out to bid this winter to start construction next year. So by the end of next year, I think we'll have an improved trail through the village.
And what were the cost estimates for that?
I don't want to misspeak and have the,
Sort of in the ballpark, because I live there and I try to describe what's going to happen and what kind of project and such. It's just ballpark.
Catherine would know better than me, but I believe the ARPA grant was for 1 million.
The grant was for 1 million. We haven't received the cost estimates because that'll be based on the final engineering design plan. And it'll be broken up in sections. So I will be able to give you an answer once we finalize the design, and then along with that, then they'll do a cost estimate. Then it goes out to bid, and then we'll see what the bids come back and see how close they were, in their estimate. We're finding with other construction projects, whether it's trail related or parks or roads, the estimates have been varying greatly compared to what the bids come back in. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to complete as many sections as possible.
Just very quickly, how wide is it going to be?
It's a 10-foot paved trail.
10-foot wide.
Our goal is a 10-foot wide paved trail in the village of Nashville.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smelker?
Are you involved in the budgeting process on the board?
Yes, we don't, Dan Patton, the director, comes to us with a proposed budget that we review as a board and ultimately approve, and every month we go through the
And you're
Financials.
satisfied with the way it is?
I think we're doing the best we can with the finances that are available. One of the challenges is that the millage only supports Charlton Park itself. So we have the Paul Henry Trail, we have McEwen Bridge, and we have some funds from the County General Fund for that. But having those two kind of split is tricky. We're doing the best we can with the money we can. I think, yes, we could always do better with more funding.
Thank you.
Commissioner Tunison?
Thanks for applying, reapplying. How do you feel we can promote Charlton Park better than what? I don't know. I just think it could grow, and I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, I think the events that we have there are key, and those are generally really well promoted. I do think we could do a better job of promoting the recreation area as well, and that's partly why we did the trail project there. I've just written a press release for that. I haven't put it out there yet, getting approval, but just so that more people know. And I think the waterfront is key. I would really like to see some better access to the waterfront. People know there's a boat ramp there. I often see a lot of people fishing from shore. Not everyone has a boat. There aren't many good places to fish from the shore. And, I talked a little bit about accessibility, things like improving the water access. Long-term goal would be possibly a fishing pier out there, and I think it really needs to appeal to a wide variety of people. Obviously, the village is key. That's what people know it for, and that will continue to be a key component, but there are a lot of other benefits to getting out there and recreating just in general.
Do you think it makes more sense to have two separate boards? One that would promote and just strictly be looking out for Charlton Park, and one looking out for Parks and Rec, or for trails?
No, I don't. I was on the board when it was split, and we found it a very difficult dynamic. I think for everyone to come together for Barry County Parks and Recreation as a whole is a really good thing. We do also have a Marketing committee, I'm not on that, but as part of our board, and they are looking at things like promotion, fundraising, and kind of bringing everyone together on that. So I've been on both boards, and I definitely see the improvement to having everyone working together for the community, not two separate entities.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Campbell.
Morning.
Good morning.
Again, thank you for reapplying. My first question is going to be to Commissioner Getty. The lake that you took me to at one time and did the forced march on for a 70-year-old. What was the name of that?
Metcalf.
Metcalf. Oh, jeez.
I object to the term forced march.
Well, they all did well. I was huffing. But it was a beautiful place, and representing the southeast area of the county, we really are somewhat out of the loop with Charlton Park, and I had an interest in that project out there. Has there been any more talk on that, or any possibilities there with I know we were talking about possibly a cooperative effort. It's an absolutely beautiful piece of property. Mm-hmm. That's just sitting there waiting.
Do you want me to?
Is that a question for me or Captain?
I guess both. I'm just.
I think I probably have a more current update than Debbie, because I've been working with City of Battle Creek and the Calhoun Conservation District, as well as Southwest Michigan Land Conservancy and the Bailey family, so that we can bring that park into better public ownership. Okay. So we're still working to make sure that all aligns, and we want it to be a benefit to Berry County and not a burden. And so, so working through with all of those partnerships so that we can bring something to the Board of Commissioners from the City of Battle Creek soon. I expect in the next quarter, but it's a beautiful piece of property. I know Heather Wing is in the audience today, and she also walked it. Many of the commissioners here have been out there. And you're right, Southeast Berry County lacks public areas and access to parks. And Debbie will be, I'm sure, very a big part of what happens out there, but she hasn't been with the, in these discussions lately.
I think Catherine's given a great interview.
Don't ask me, I'm turning my microphone.
Sorry about that, Catherine, but, so hopefully if this goes the way you obviously would like it to go, that would be something you'd keep in mind, because the Southeast is much out of the loop. We do appreciate the help and financial awards there to Johnstown Township, who is putting in a beautiful public facility there. They've just done a great job on it, and part of it's due to the parks helping them out there financially. So good luck, and glad you're here.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hatfield.
I think, thank you for reapplying. Obviously, you bring a lot of expertise to the table. I think that some of the questions you've heard from us just reflect what we hear frequently in the community, and that is that they love Charlton Park, but they see a huge potential that has yet to be realized. And certainly you can't do it without the funding support, but I think the question is, how do we best rally that support and look for other income generation opportunities. Probably the thing that I hear most these days is interest in expanding camping facilities there at the park. Certainly COVID has increased camping activity multifold. I've got two kids that if I'd ever suggested to them that we go camping for a weekend, they would have, thrown tantrums on the floor, and yet now they both do it every weekend. So what do you, will the study that's being done address those kinds of issues? And
So the study isn't really looking at revenue generation. We kind of, I wouldn't say, I mean, obviously it's part of it because we're not going to suggest things that are just going to be a big draw, a big, drain on resources. It has to be sustainable, but we're primarily looking at opportunities, and then we'll evaluate each one of those. We did have a conceptual plan done for a camping area there, right just as I came onto the board before. People think it's going to generate revenue, but you have to put a lot of money in before you get anything back. So, those are things we have to consider. The park does generate some revenue through events, obviously, and rentals, but it's never going to be self-sufficient. But we'll certainly be looking at all of those things and how we can better facilitate events to make them easier to manage and that kind of thing. So the economics of it will be part of the master plan, but that's really something that the board has to get their head around, rather than the consultant's a design consultant, not a business consultant. So, but yeah.
No question about that, but I think that that may be an opportunity to garner some additional outside input, would be from someone who can take the potential that you're trying to identify and attach that to revenue generation opportunities.
For sure.
No other questions?
Thank you, Deborah. I have no further questions. Good conversation, good questions from the commissioner. So I appreciate your reapplication. Thank you.
All right.
We'll have a decision at the end of the meeting, and we'll let you know.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you. Next interview is for the Parks Commission is Donald Perry. Good morning, Donald.
Good morning. Nice to see you all again.
Yeah, if you would tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and why you'd see yourself being a good fit for the Parks and Rec Commission.
Actually, in light of the two ringing endorsements and the wonderful interview provided, I would like to defer to both Deborah and Sarah and respectfully withdraw my consideration for this particular position. She obviously seems to know exactly what she's doing, and if she isn't part of the that board, I think you're making a rather large mistake, and I imagine Sarah has pretty much stellar reputation as well. So thank you. I'll take my seat.
Okay. But I'm assuming you're going to stick around for.
I am, yes.
Thank you.
Is there any other boards that you have interest in serving on, or?
I actually have an interview a little bit later for the building department.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. We're interviewing him again in a few minutes. So.
All right.
Sarah Nelson. Good morning, Sarah. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's really nice to see you all as well.
If you want to give us a little background on yourself, and especially since there's a few new commissioners, tell us, I know you've been involved with Berry County for quite some time, and a little background and a little bit of your time with the Parks and Rec Commission.
Sure. So I have lived in Berry County for 8 years. Absolutely loved it. Didn't think I would necessarily stay when I first got here, not knowing anything about the place. And I started working for the Berry Conservation District. I got to work with a lot of landowners there in voluntary conservation for private lands, and just absolutely fell in love with the land, the people, everything. And even though I did take a new job outside of the county in May, decided that I love it so much here that I wanted to stay. Convinced my partner to move from across the state, and we bought a house in Delton, so we're there on Crooked Lake. And I think that it's really important to give back to the community that you love and serve, in benefit of all of its residents as well, all your fellow community members. So previous to the board splitting, I also served on the old Parks Board And I've also served several terms on the Solid Waste Oversight Committee. Unfortunately, I had to give that position up when I changed jobs. But professionally, like I said, I work in conservation. My background is primarily with private lands, outreach, education, things like that for natural resource conservation. Now I'm working for the state, so we're working on more pressing statewide issues, but I think that it's really important to stay involved locally still. Also, like Debbie, sorry, this is going to be pretty repetitive. I also really love outdoor recreation and outdoor spaces. You know, it's personally for me, it's my avenue for stress release. It's my avenue for relationship building. It's my avenue for joy, tranquility, everything. It's you know, my relationship with the natural world is super important to me personally, and I can see that it brings a lot of positive impact to have those opportunities for our community members as well. And so I'm really honored to be able to serve in a group that helps enhance those opportunities for people.
Awesome. Commissioner Getty.
I'll start with the same question. So you've been around a while as well. What do you see as our biggest challenges and opportunities over the next 5 years?
Thanks. Yeah, again, I'm sorry to repeat what Debbie said, but I do think that funding is our biggest challenge. Maintaining historic buildings and land takes a lot of funds, and a lot of times so much of our resources go into maintaining those assets and the infrastructure that it's difficult to bring in new things or look ahead. And so I feel like it's always a balance between those. And then again, finding creative ways to serve all residents of Berry County with our assets and infrastructure being concentrated in and around the city of Hastings. So yeah.
Awesome.
And
Additional
then,
questions? Okay. Commissioner Doster?
If you're living at Crooked Lake, you're probably aware of the Bernard Museum.
yes, I was afraid you might ask that. No, I also have not been, but I drive by it all the time, and so I keep meaning to. It just happens to be that I drive by at times when it's not open. So I look forward to that, and I think you mentioned a partnership. It's not really for me to say whether that would be appropriate, but I think it would be a great conversation to have with the park staff that focuses on the historical collections and the school education. I think that'd be a good conversation.
Yeah, they're good into. They have the third grade Dalton class visit them every year. It's part of their school education. Personally, I'd like to see some member sit on both of them, in order to be able to latch into the knowledge, because they're similar organizations to me, just one's in a much smaller scope. But all right, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Colton?
Well, Sarah, incredible qualifications. So this tells me a lot about you, but I want to learn from you a little bit. Tell me more about, because I've heard about it, and this has been brought up a little bit, the grant program that the Parks and Recreation Commission does with some outside parks.
Yeah, so each year we do a small grant program where local units of government can apply to receive financial assistance for their own parks projects. So some really good examples are like if a park needs some new picnic tables. These aren't large grants because, like I said, we have limited funding, but things like picnic tables or I believe the amphitheater in Berry Township received some funding through that several years ago, or pickleball courts or trail improvements. There's just so much that I think that townships and villages could be doing with just a little bit of money, and, you know, they match with their own funds. And so that's sort of the idea, is to help those local units of government improve their recreation resources that are available to their local residents in lieu of us having a wider spread of parks throughout the county.
So in general, what is the range of these individual grants in terms of amount of money, and what's your total budget, you know, overall for this activity?
Yeah, so I apologize, I am very bad with numbers, and like Debbie said, I don't want to mess it up. And we also had a similar program through the solid waste board, so I don't want to mix those numbers up. I think is it 5 or 10,000?
15.
15. Split the difference. So 15,000 total. And I believe this year or last year, did we have 3 recipients that it was?
This year we had 2, and then one backed out, and so we were able to make the full award to Johnstown Township for their park improvement.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Smelker.
No questions.
Commissioner Tunison.
Thanks, Sarah, for reapplying. I'm going to ask you the same question. Do you think that it would be better to have a board that would strictly be thinking about Shelton Park, that have a lot of knowledge of Shelton Park, and that would pour their passion to that, and maybe try to get that, like Commissioner Hatfield said, growing, and then people have passion for trails and everything? How do you feel about that? 2 separate boards?
So again, like Debbie, I did serve on the Parks
Yeah,
Board.
that's why I want to
separate.
ask you, because you have knowledge of both ways.
Yeah. I think that it functions better when it's together, because we're able to pool resources and partner on, you know, things like larger grant opportunities. I also think that there's the Charlton Park Foundation and the Gas and Steam Club, both of which do a lot of work specifically at Charlton Park. And by and large, our biggest use of resources is still, outside of the ARPA grant, is still consistently going into Charlton Park. That's where the majority of time, funding, everything that we do, even as a consolidated board, goes, because Charlton Park is, you know, the much larger than McEwen Bridge Park. So I think it's a good, efficient use of resources to have them together. But I think that it's important to find those folks who are champions for Charlton Park, and engage them still, even if it's, you know, not everybody's talent is best used sitting in a board meeting anyway. So I think there are a lot of other ways that we could engage those folks, like we did with the volunteer millage group.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Campbell.
Good morning, Sarah. I really have no questions for you. I've been associated here and there in different things with you. You've always done a great job, and glad you're here applying.
Thanks.
Commissioner Hatfield.
I have no questions. Thank you very much for your interest and your past participation.
Thanks.
I have no questions either, Sarah. I've known your background for some time since I've been a commissioner, and appreciate your service to Berry County and continuing on this board. So thank you. And we'll make a decision and let you know soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioners, we have 2 applicants, both of which are incumbents. And I think it would be prudent, unless there's some additional conversation, we can go ahead and make those appointments. The chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to reappoint Deborah Jensen and Sarah Nelson to fill the citizen-at-large positions on the Park and Recreation Board for a 3-year term that begins on January 1st, 2024 and ends December 31st, 2026.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Colton, support by Hatfield, to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to reappoint Deborah Jensen and Sarah Nelson to fill the citizen-at-large position on the Parks and Recs Commission Parks and Recs Board for 3-year terms that begin on January 1st, 2024 and end on December 31st, 2026. Discussion.
I'm very sorry to see the two drop out. It takes away any competition, but just my thoughts.
Okay. Thank you. Additional discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The motion is approved. Next up, Donald Perry. Come on down. Again.
Good morning again.
Thank you. Before we get started, because we have new commissioners, Michael, would you give us a brief background on the building authority?
Sure. Sorry, Donald, come join me.
Be my guest.
All right, thank you. Yeah, the Building Authority is a bit of a technical board in that the centerpiece or the cornerstone for it is and its purpose is to finance public buildings. So much like the Board of Public Works, with public works projects, the Building Authority's purpose is to finance and construct public buildings. Think of a jail, a courthouse, a municipal building. We have historically done it with county buildings, but you could also, like the Board of Public Works, serves as a financing conduit to assist local units, townships, villages, cities with borrowing money, issuing bonds, and constructing infrastructure projects. The Building Authority could do the same thing. The Building Authority was established under Act 31 in 1948. So I don't know this, I wasn't here at that time, but I suspect that its purpose was, if you'll remember, the Board of Supervisors was the Board of Commissioners prior to the 1960-ish, 64 maybe, Constitution. So a building project required then some additional time and focus that maybe a Board of Supervisors didn't have, if you may. I won't get into too many of the details of how the Building Authority functions, but they are a financing conduit. We have not used them recently. They've actually only met once this year, and that was for an administrative purpose. If you recall, ownership of the front of the court building needed to go back to the county board because the bonds had been paid off, so they needed to meet to do that. There is still a project outstanding, or at least bonds on a project, that is Thornapple Manor, so we do still need to have the Building Authority. In 2001, the Building Authority, there was let me rephrase that. In 2001, there was another alternative to the Building Authority, and that's capital improvement bonds that previously weren't available under law, whereby to borrow funds or borrow money to construct a building, the County Board of Commissioners could do that directly. So you could have taken the Building Authority, if you may, out of need. We haven't done that. We've still continued to use the Building Authority primarily because of its nimbleness, if you may, when it comes to a project. One of the more important functions that the Building Authority serves is if and when a project occurs, they would meet with the general contractor on a regular basis to get updates and approve change orders and bills associated with that. You as a body don't meet that regularly. So if there is a project, for example, a jail, at some point we get to a point of constructing a jail, you'll need to borrow money for that. You'll need to make a decision as a body whether you utilize the Building Authority as your conduit, if you may, to construct that, or if you do that yourself. In the past, we have utilized the Building Authority. Regardless, we do need to maintain a Building Authority because we have bonds outstanding on the Thornapple Manor project. The Building Authority is construed of 3 individuals by law. It does not specify who they need to be. The county has chosen over the years to have one finance-related person. That has been Sue Vandekar, our county treasurer. A legal representative, that has been Dave Tripp, who's a local attorney, and then a individual that's familiar with and has a construction background. That has been Bob Vanderbo. Bob is not reapplying, I'll dip my tongue in a glass of water for a minute and give you a chance to ask questions if you'd like.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. Thank you.
There are no commissioners that sit on this board. This is a 3-member board, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Would this board then be dealing with the Commission on Aging building?
So, excellent question. It depends. If there are, if it's a cash project, it would not need to. If there are bonds, if the project needs to borrow money, and by way of bonds, the board will have to decide whether the building authority, whether those bonds are through the building authority or through the county itself by way of capital improvement bonds.
Okay.
So, apologize for the bureaucratic answer, but yes and maybe.
Yes, and maybe.
Well, that was crystal clear as mud.
There you go. If you want to give us a little bit of background on yourself and why you see yourself as a good fit for the Building Authority Board, I'd appreciate it.
So I've been in the construction industry for about 30 years now. I got started while I was going to college at Grand Valley State University. Kind of fell into it. Wasn't originally my first choice. I was actually studying political science and philosophy to get a law degree. Discovered that I love the theory of law and hate the practice, and was working for my landlord doing odd jobs to help out on his properties to offset rent, and discovered I have an aptitude for it and I enjoy it. It's a system that makes an awful lot of sense to me. And have been pursuing that for the last 30 years. I've done everything from haul lumber to manage multi-million-dollar projects. I've worked in primarily residential, but I have worked on commercial projects, including what is now the Lake Michigan Credit Union ballpark, but at the time it was the Fifth Third ballpark. The company I was with, we were responsible for redoing the rebuilding after their fire. I've built some of the condos in downtown Grand Rapids. So primarily my education is all in construction and residential, but I am aware of how commercial operates. And to your unasked question, I have been to the Bernard Historical Museum, and my family and I found it absolutely fascinating. We thoroughly enjoyed it.
Good. Ringing endorsement.
Excellent. Commissioner Tunison, you've got some background in construction, I understand. Would you like to lead?
Yep, I do. I read your bio, and you're a perfect fit for this board, really. I appreciate you applying and absolutely commend you on your career, and you made a great fit for this. Thank you.
Commissioner Campbell.
Morning, John. I too have some previous building experience, and just looks to me like you're going to be a great fit, and glad you're here and stepping up and helping the county. Great thing to do, Don.
Commissioner Hatfield.
Well, obviously, you have the technical background that's needed in this position, and I also commend your wisdom in stepping aside from the Parks Commission discussion in order to focus on this one. So we appreciate your interest and hope that this is maybe the first of a number of ways that you find to serve Berry County.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Smelker.
No questions. Thank you for applying.
Commissioner Getty.
I don't have any questions. I think the question I was going to ask about was commercial building experience, and it's nice to hear that you have a well-rounded career of experience. And I would encourage you to, your interest in parks. We always need volunteers. That is not, something that you need to sit on the board to do.
Sure.
So absolutely, come and seek me out if you have questions, but definitely please come and volunteer.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Commissioner Colton.
No questions, but good to have you on board.
Thank you.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That was the easiest interview I think I've ever given.
Not so fast. No, I'm kidding. No detailed questions from me. No, I appreciate your application. I think you'll be a great fit on that board, and that's some guidance with legal and finance that'll fit well together. So I appreciate your application and your vision to see that that'll be a great fit for you. And with that political science background, someday you can think about being a commissioner too, so who knows?
Well, we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. I thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, the chair would recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to appoint Donald Perry to the Berry County Building Authority for a 3-year term that begins on 1/1/24 and ends 12/31/2026.
So moved.
Was that Tunison?
Or me or Bruce, take your pick.
Motion by Tunison, support by Campbell, to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to appoint Donald Perry to the Berry County Building Authority for a 3-year term that begins on 1/1/2024 and ends 12/31/2026. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is approved. Congratulations, Donald.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Joe. Have a great day. I've got to get to a job site.
There you go. Next up, Jim Yarger, fiscal year 2023 Emergency Management Performance Grant.
What, you been hiding in the truck again?
I had lots of phone calls I got through, so here I am. Good morning, everybody.
Morning. So what do we have here? The EMC 2023 EP 005?
Yes, the Emergency Management Performance Grant for been fiscal year 2023. It's the annual grant that pays a portion of the Emergency Management Coordinator's wages. I think, I'm trying to find it here, my thumb hit something and I changed pages. I think it's around $28,600 and some dollars.
28,765.
Yeah, it's about 5,000 less than we had anticipated, but that was across the board, and we're still having discussion with MSP on what happened there. So.
Okay. So no information as to why the reduction this year?
Across the board, all the emergency managers have gotten raises, so that, and then the pot of money got smaller, so, but we haven't necessarily seen where they took any cut on anything, so we're still fighting that avenue. So.
Okay. And this is something that we approve on a yearly basis?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. We've seen
So
this.
all of the grant paperwork and things that need to be done have been satisfied. This just, it's like at the very end of that grant cycle, they get the funds from FEMA and then they dole it out after they physically have the funds, because there's been some issues in the past when we did it the other way around, so.
Okay. Questions from commissioners? Okay, like I said, this is pretty standard. We do this on a yearly basis, so. The chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of grant number EMC-2023-EP-0005, State of Michigan Fiscal Year 2023 Emergency Management Performance Grant Agreement, and authorize the County Board Chair and Emergency Management Coordinator to sign the grant agreement.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Smelker, support by Getty, to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of grant number EMC-2023-EP-0005, State of Michigan Fiscal Year 2023 Emergency Management Performance Grant Agreement, and authorize the County Board Chair and Emergency Management Coordinator to sign the grant agreement. Additional discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Time for a break. 9:55. The board will go at recess for 5 to 7 minutes. And then we'll start. Committee of the Whole come back in session. Next on our agenda, Julie Piak with the MSU 2024 Work Agreement. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thanks so much for having me here this morning. My name is Julie Piak. I'm the District Director on an interim basis here in Berry County for MSU Extension. I've been serving in that role since Erin Moore went on to bigger and better things. Actually, she's serving doing a really great job with our Health and Nutrition Institute, and so I'm so pleased she's in that position. So I'm here today to talk about the annual renewal of the Memorandum of Agreement between Berry County and Michigan State University Extension. I also have two other issues I want to briefly touch on. One is the MSU Extension Annual Report, and the other one is in regard to some recent complaints regard to office staffing. So, but to clear up the agenda item first, there are new commissioners, and so just to explain what this agreement is, once the budget is adopted, we come forward with this agreement to basically articulate the commitment and responsibilities the county has, as well as MSU Extension has, to provide MSU Extension programming in the county, in Berry County. So it outlines what you'll provide, what we'll provide, and it includes the funding commitment that the county has made to the office. Those funds are leveraged against all 83 counties, so I believe, where are we at, 100 and, what's the bottom line, 22,000-ish?
132,000?
Well, darn it, I knew there was a 2 in there. $132,000. Combine that with 83 counties, brings almost $9 million into the organization to support programming throughout the state. In addition, Berry County provides us office space and technology, phones, that kind of thing. And then we bring the entire university to Berry County. You provide funding for a 4-H program, for a secretary, and we bring educators from all of our 4 institutes. So that's basically what that agreement says, and we do renew that on an annual basis. And so that's that. Part of the commitment written into that MOA is an annual report, and I want to thank Commissioner Getty for bringing this to my attention, and I apologize, I made a big error. I presumed when Erin told me that the report was completed that it was also presented. And in my research, I found out that yes, indeed, Erin did do a brilliant 7-page report, and there it sat. And it was not presented to the Board of Commissioners. Usually, I like to do that, well, we do that whenever it's available, whenever the board would like to see us. And so I presumed it was done in the spring since Erin had completed that. You do not have that report, and so I would like to give you a chance to review that report. I don't want to talk about it today. I'd like you to have a chance to look at it, and then I would like to propose either coming back between now and the end of the year, and at the same time, I could introduce the new district director, Scott Korpeck, who will start November 19th, and maybe combine efforts that way, if it's the board's pleasure. If not, I can send the report, and you can read it, and if you have questions, you can ask us that. But I can talk with Michael about that and see how that might fit into the work of the board, if that's okay with you. But again, appreciate Commissioner Getty. You did mention that to Laura, and I thought, well, what? And so I apologize for that misstep. Thirdly, recently there's been some complaints regarding our office, staffing of our office hours. So I just wanted to say thank you. It's nice to get feedback, good or bad, relating to our office operations. It is my responsibility to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the board and the public in our office. We do appreciate the office space. It is quite an interesting office. It provides ample room for our storage and our staff, and now with a larger staff that we have, has an office for everyone, so it's really a wonderful space, saying that. So our office hours, we're open 20 hours a week, actually 17 hours a week. Our office hours are Tuesday through Thursday, when our support staff is present. So we have posted office hours to keep consistency going. Patty Snyder started with us late April, early May, I believe. And so we're able to provide consistent secretarial office support to meet the public. So we can't say that we're open 40 hours because our other program staff are out in the community. And so to have them in the office means they're not necessarily doing their work. However, when they are in the office, they do answer the door if customers come, if they're able to. Sometimes they've told me that the lights go out with the automatic lighting system. Their offices are in the basement, and so they may miss constituents from time to time based on that. Our office staff, if they're not out in the community programming, they're also maybe on their computers doing webinars, even though they're in doing webinar programming, teaching online if they're in the office. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I do think that it's we do our best, and this complaint hits a little bit hard with this office because this team really has, since I've been district director, constantly said, hey, who's going to be there to staff the office? And so it's always on their minds of making sure that they're meeting the needs of the public, so the criticism hits them awfully hard. So I just wanted to share that with you, that I did want to bring this to your attention to know that we're working on that, and we're working diligent to make sure we meet the needs. One complaint was there were a couple days in September, there was a specific complaint brought to my attention, and we were all gone, and it was during posted office hours. We were at our annual meeting on campus, and we were able to take Patty with us, our secretary, who had a really good time understanding the organization that she's a part of. She saw all 600 folks in one place together, and so it was a really great experience for her as a new team member to be there. So we did close the office for those days. So there was one time that we did do that recently. But I will take another look. You know, every time you get a criticism about something, you want to take fresh eyes and say, okay, what can we do better? Do we have the consistent messaging across newsletters, voicemail, website? Is the signage on the door sufficient? To me, when I walk into a door, it's, you know, you just hit with a lot of stuff. You know, is it clear and concise? We do offer on Mondays and Fridays appointment basis too, to make sure that we can meet the needs of our 4-H volunteers, our leaders, and our individuals who want to come in and get some resources or buy a soil sample test kit. Okay, I think I hit all my points. Is there any questions that I can ask regarding the MOA, anything related to the annual report or the office hours?
Questions from commissioners?
I guess I might well admit, I was one of the complaints. As I went there 3 times, and I got no one. I did not check the basement with the lights going out. The door upstairs was locked. I did not check the basement. That could be my fault, but I
Well, you
didn't see
wouldn't
a
be
sign
able-
to say check the basement.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to check the basement because you'd have to get into our door, so, yeah.
Why are we locked out of you?
Pardon?
Are you locked in a space that people can't get to then, in the basement? You mean,
No, probably when we're not posted office hours and the staff are not able to answer the door, they will lock the office. Either one, they're not there, they're out programming, or 2, they're not able to answer the door even if they are there. So probably when you came, Commissioner, it wasn't during our posted office hours, more than likely.
yeah, it was. Okay.
It was okay, well, we'll work on that then. So, right now
If
our.
you'd look into it, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, it's on everyone's minds, trust me. Again, we appreciate it. I heard from Commissioner Getty, from the administrator, and you, so thank you. Yeah, we will look into it.
Additional questions?
Glad to hear you're working on that. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I want to make comment about the 4-H program in Berry County, though. My wife and I, we go to the fair every year, spend a lot of time out there. The interaction with the 4-H kids is truly amazing to me, how these kids, they learn life lessons about how to deal with adults, how to look them in the eye, how to carry on conversations, great family-oriented activities, and the parents are very involved with these kids' lives, and I really appreciate the 4-H program in Berry County. So,
Additional questions? Commissioner Getty?
I know that you recently, am I on? I know you recently added a 4-H educator.
did.
In Lily Arriaga. And I've had an opportunity to work with her. Commissioner Carlton has
Great.
as well. She brings not only, I think, a lot of energy
Yes.
to the 4-H program, but also she's a horticulturist through her education. So I commend you on that hire. I wondered if, I know that our 4-H program is quite extensive and we bring a lot of money into families through the 4-H program, just and the other educational opportunities. Is it a response to the number of enrollees that we have in 4-H that we've brought in another educator?
I think the opportunity was there, one, to grow the program. The numbers are there for a full-time program coordinator. To bring in the other ones, the funding between the tree funds, I call them, with the name of the tree funds, the extra income that was available to the, thank you, the North funds. And plus the United Way funds, the supporting, plus the county enables us to have 2 full-time program coordinators. And I think you're going to see great growth in the program, not only in our traditional club model, but also what we call spin clubs, special interest clubs, as well as after-school programming. So that's what we're looking forward to. And as well as natural resources, there seems to be a need and a great demand for that kind of programming in the county. So hopefully we're going to see great things. Lily started in July, and I think she hit the ground running. Erin started last year. So we've got two individuals new in their careers, highly energetic, highly motivated, and dedicated to the 4-H program. So we're going to see growth. At least we're holding them accountable to growth in the program. So the response to that, I can't go into too much of that, Commissioner Getty, just because that was, I didn't research on what brought that up forward, just to say that Erin was convinced that there would be great growth if we had both people in the position, so.
I've had a chance to work with both of them, and they've been, it's nice to see that next generation
Yes.
coming in, and I've seen them work with children, and they're very engaged, and I think having younger educators, the kids really identify with them. So, nothing but good things to say about
Yeah, I'm
both.
excited about it as well. We had a staff meeting a couple weeks ago, and there were 8 of us sitting around the table. And we had a Christine Charles, our agriculture educator from KBS. She covers Berry County. She was there. We had the 4-H program supervisor, Kelly, there. We had the 2 of them. We had Sydney. We had Laura. We had Patty. Me, and we had Tracy. There was a huge group of folks around. We're like, wow, look at all these people sitting here in the Berrien County office, and that was just a small fraction of who really serves the area. So I felt a lot of energy and excitement. So it was a good meeting, a good feeling for everybody to have us all there. So
It's a good fit for a rural community like ours.
yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Doster?
I was one of the commissioners who had difficulty accessing your office as well.
Okay,
on
good. Yeah,
probably 5 occasions.
5. Okay, coming.
And
yeah.
I came during the Tuesday to Thursday,
Okay.
but then I noticed, I thought, well, maybe I've read it wrong on your website. Now there seemed to be different hours on your website,
Okay.
which were much more inclusive, and also said that you needed to make an appointment in order to access the office on the website.
Yeah, it says it says call before coming, and then it has the hours Tuesday and Thursday, and then Monday through Friday by appointment. So we're going to clarify that and make sure we're consistent across messaging. And I think given we have the part-time secretary, if she has an appointment or some other obligation, I think that prior to having her, I think that was a vacant position for many, many months. And so I think that was on the website to make sure that
Do you have
people didn't come and not find somebody. So you need to update that if it's not accurate.
Do you have a study of how much non-duplicative foot traffic you have to that office?
No, I don't have a study to that effect, no. I can measure sales, though we do have, we have a point of sale system that we can track sales of items that we sell, and that would be the only method. But we could start that, if that's what you're suggesting.
I think that the 4-H program is pretty popular and is well-run. From the comments that I received. The other programs I'm not as sure of. I think that obviously you took a hit during the COVID. There was less people accessing your office probably.
Oh, in terms of foot traffic?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
These programming that you do, I've had, people say, well, I'm asking them how they use your office, and it's like, well, I look up how to prune peach trees or something. But in this day and age, there are probably 100 other how to prune peach tree sites. It isn't the only source of information that it once was. When I was on this board 30 years ago, Jan Hartaw was the director of this. She was an extraordinary person.
I worked with her.
And did quite a bit in helping the county organize itself, I think, and served on a lot of boards. I don't see this kind of cooperation with your organization that we once had. It looks to me like the contract, the base contract is, there's a certain amount of money that we have to provide, plus the space, plus half of a 4-H coordinator. Is that correct? And then there are optional things, which is a half of a support staff and a half of an additional 4-H coordinator, which would make with a one whole coordinator. Personally, it seems like this is an office that that's dwindling in its importance at this point. I would be of the mind to cancel the half additional clerical support on it in order for a year to see if this office can rebound and become more relevant. I mean, this thing of this no annual report, well, that is a contract service that is required under the contract.
Yes, it is.
And for that to go totally by the wayside, it just does not look like you're making much try to make yourselves relevant here.
May I respond?
Yes.
So again, I apologize for not delivering the annual report in a timely fashion. I really did think it was already done. And so that's in the transition from a district director who had been here for a few years to her vacancy in the position and me serving as interim. So I personally take responsibility for not delivering the annual report. I will get that to you today so that you can take a look at that. It is a commitment and one that we hold very seriously about presenting our programming efforts to the county. So I will just leave it at that. I'm not sure how else to
You brought up our
respond.
criticism on a couple different board meetings, and you could have got the...
Correct.
Notice that you could have provided an annual report at that time.
And so I'm here today, so thank you.
Additional questions? Commissioner Campbell?
All right, I'm going to give you a break.
Oh, you can keep it coming. That's fine.
I just want to express that I've been affiliated with 4-H. Both my kids went through it starting at 5 and continued till 18. And in today's world, bridging that gap between adults and old guys and children and youth is getting more and more difficult. And I think our 4-H problem is our group is absolutely priceless. I think it's something that needs to always be maintained. And we hit little stumbles in the road, everybody does, but that program, and my wife still is a leader. I still am involved with it. I want to continue involved with it till I'm not on this earth anymore. It's a great program, and it does so much for our youth.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Additional questions? Comments?
One final comment, if I may.
Yes.
So if we had an opportunity to present our annual report officially, you can have it in paper, what I like to do is bring the staff who are highlighted in the report with me, and so you can see how your funds are leveraging the funds of the university to bring all of our programming efforts. 4-H is an incredibly strong program in Berry County, and with the 2 4-H program coordinators on staff now, I think we're going to see even more growth. And I do think that other programs that we have are highly used. For example, I handed out the gifts of the food safety thermometers here. That's one program that you may not hear about. Kelly Jordan has been in Berry County presenting and working with the libraries and so forth to help individuals understand the importance of food safety. Back to our roots, if you will, with preservation skills and canning and so forth, which is on a great demand nowadays. Yes, that information's on the internet. Anybody can go to the internet and Google something, and we provide the much of the scientific background for some of those information. We partner with other universities, and people still need a sounding board and scientific-based information to make decisions to improve their lives. And I think that's the breadth of extension programming and what we bring to the county, in addition to 4-H. So thank you.
Okay, and this contract for $132,000, is that consistent with what it's been over the past several years?
I do believe it is, yes.
Okay. Okay, and we'll get with Michael and see if we can schedule it this year, if not early next year. I'm assuming that Scott Korpak will be able to attend. You'll.
Absolutely, and if we don't get on the agenda, maybe we can come in just in public comment as well, and so he can say hello.
I would appreciate you addressing the concerns of a couple commissioners, even if it's just knowing that, hey, the office will be staffed Tuesday morning, Wednesday
Correct.
afternoon, Thursday morning, so there's a face, so when people want to see that, and I don't know how we communicate that. I know not everybody's going to use the internet to find that information, but it'd be good to have some consistency, in the office, so we can feel like there's somebody to talk to, that there's a face in that office at that point. I know there's a lot of things that they're trying to do, everybody's spread thin, but would appreciate you addressing that, and hopefully we can get an update on that when you come back to the board.
Sure.
So.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions for Julie, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the 2024 agreement between Berry County and Michigan State University for MSU Extension Programming.
So moved.
Motion by Getty, support by Smelker, to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the 2024 agreement between Berry County and Michigan State University for access to MSU Extension Programming. Discussion?
We'll have more information then on this, regarding this, at the regular board meeting, or was that?
I think what we're going to do is we're going to schedule a time for the annual report presentation.
Prior to that?
Well, this is coming back to the BOC next week for final approval, so I don't think we're going to have time to schedule it at that point. I'll talk to Michael and see, maybe it's possible, but.
Can't we get a paper copy of it, though?
Oh, you can get a paper copy of the report. Sure, she's going to give that to us today. So you'll have the annual report. So.
Is there a reason that so if we forward this and this contract will be adopted as it is, then prior to us having our discussion with her and her staff and the annual report, is that correct?
This will be adopted next week prior, unless we schedule the report for next week, it'll be adopted, yes.
I just soon see the annual report, since I had concerns regarding this and that additional support staff of that half position in that. I would just, personally, I would as soon see the whole dog and pony show before I had to vote on it, but.
You'll have the annual report today, correct? We won't have an opportunity, most likely, to interact with the entire board, so.
All right, thank you.
So we are approving this. This is, Michael, if I'm understanding, this is already in the budget. It's already approved in the main budget.
It is budgeted for.
And this is just the formality of the approval between MSU. Okay. Well, let's vote on it, and if it's not approved, then we'll rethink this before the presentation. So, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
The motion is approved. Thank you, Julie,
You're
and we'll
welcome.
look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, thank you.
The one thing I would suggest, I mean, I think that there's, on the one hand, a time urgency to address some of the issues that Commissioner Doster raised. On the other hand, I'd like for the new director to have enough time on the job to maybe be able to more intelligently respond to some of the concerns that we may be expressing. I would not support a cut in funding at this point, given our desire to see if they can't correct some of the deficiencies that we have mentioned. So I hope that this is kind of a wake-up call for them, and that we see those things addressed to our satisfaction.
Well said. Next up, Drain Commissioner Dull. Full faith and credit for the MacArthur Drain District bonds, drainage district bonds.
This is the resolution. I don't know if you guys get a hard copy, but I like to work with hard copies. This is for the full faith and credit for the county to back the note that we have to get for the MacArthur drain. Little history, the drain was set up, it's on the south end of Woodland, dumps into Woodland under M43. It was established between 1894 and 1904 by the time they got it all said and done. So it's an older drain. We got a petition September 29th of 2020 from Gary Dalton with enough signatures to move forward with it. The actual drain, here's Woodland, and here's the drain on the south side. Takes in all this property, drains it real well. The farmers wanted it done to get better flow out of their drain for their underground tiling. The Board of Determination found it necessary on September 16th, 2021. At first, I couldn't remember why we waited so long on the BOD, and then I realized September 29th was all the COVID crap going on, and we didn't. I don't like to have meetings virtually because I want people to be there. If they want to scream at me or be mad or whatever, I want to do it in person. I don't like phones and emails that way. We had a mandatory pre-bid. We had, I think, 10 contractors show up. We had kudos to our contractors. We're getting a lot of them looking at our projects. And then we did the notice of letting, and the bid opening was September 8th of '23. The low bid was Randy Meyer out of, I believe he's over by Holland. He come in at $152,812.24. The high bid is $348,750. So Randy was looking for work. That's why we try to schedule it in the winter, because some of the guys are a little slow and they're a little hungry. But, you know, when you can get a range, $200,000 range, that's quite a good deal with Randy. Even Dave Snithammer, who came to day of review, I told him what the project was, and he said, that's cheap. And Dave knows tile. The comp costs total was $343,200.26. We held our day of review on 10/5 of '23, and Dave came in and one lady. I think I got a copy of the day of review, the sign-in sheet. Nobody basically argued their assessment. They just had questions about the project. So when we reached out, I talked to Rob Raines of an estimate on interest right now, and he said you're probably looking at 5.2% on a 20-year note. And we have to, by code, we add up to 1% on top of that, and that's getting pretty steep interest for people. But of course, if we get full faith and credit from the county, which kind of is a technicality, it's all based on the taxes, and the county's pretty much on the hook anyway. Quite often, the loaning institutions like to see that backing, and it gets us a better interest rate. So
So the 5.2% could actually be in the 6% range?
We have to charge 1% more by drain code. It's to make up for shortfalls of people prepaying and the callable notes and stuff like that. So it's surprising that the interest rates went up that much this quick.
2.5% to.
When we did Watson, we actually got 1.8 plus 1, and now we're at 5.2 plus 1. 4%, that's a big jump.
It's a big jump.
And makes the numbers not as pretty, well, they never were pretty.
No opposition to the drain to speak of, you're saying?
No.
So this is something that needs to be done?
Yep.
Okay, questions from commissioners?
I have one. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Jim, where does, so this starts as like kind of tile south of Woodland, where does it drain into?
It actually goes north into the Stairs and Parrot. It goes through the Woodland Creek drain. There's a Stairs and Parrot up here, and then the Woodland Creek drain, which starts at M43, and then south, it was petitioned for this section. A lot of our drains are segmented. You had a drain district set up, and then you get another one upstream of it, and then they petition it now that they got an outlet, and then they do another one. So you get a number of them in series. So.
Okay, Commissioner Tennyson, you're next.
John. All right, so Jim, I got a question, two questions. How many people are involved in this drain district as far as tax-wise?
It's a small drain district. I can get you a copy of the.
And then you didn't have any opposition?
No.
Okay.
The
So
people-
another question, with that variation of bids, do you worry about the low guy? Do you always give the low guy the bid?
We reach out to them and see if they're comfortable with their bid, because.
That's a big variation, okay, and I mean,
Yeah.
are you worried about?
No,
any-
Randy Meyer's got a good background. He's a qualified contractor. We see this a lot, big
That
variations.
big a variation?
Yeah. Some of them not at all, some of them significantly.
I mean, they all do the same work. That kind of baffles me, being a business guy. I mean, I'm usually
Yeah.
somewhere close.
That's why I
Okay.
say, we called Randy Meyer and said, are you comfortable with this? Because that's a big variation. And, I mean, there were several others.
So if there's already been a situation where they get into something, they realize, man, I'm way under bid here, I just walk off the place?
That's why we hold bid bonds.
Okay.
Because if they walk off, there's something in place to cover them.
Okay.
Just for that fact, there's been times in the past that didn't get done. But yeah, we had 152,000, 283,000, 348,000, 241,000. They're
all over the map.
It is. And it's now granted, having said that, we do buy the tile, so we know that they're not paying for the tile, because we got really good. ADS and some of the other suppliers are really good to us on tile costs. So, but yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking when you get that much of a jump. But like I say, some of the guys typically are significantly higher than others, so.
That 350,000 includes the cost of the tile?
No, it did not. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, the 350, not the high bid.
Okay.
But yeah, 343 included everything, so.
Okay. Was there additional questions, Commissioner Smoker?
Jim, do you foresee, once this drain gets fixed, of problems, what I would call downstream? Or are they in good shape downstream?
There was a question raised by Rick, Woodland Hitch, probably Rick, and, because he said there's been problems in the tile under the road. Now, we did reach out to Jim Davis. I crawled up the drain, starting at the, I guess it's the BPW there on the north side of M43, and we found in there, there's chunks of tarmac and chunks of junk we believe are all because of where M43 is. A couple years ago, when Rick told me about it, I crawled up in there and I cut a couple 2x10s out that were stuck crossways in the tile. Yeah, that was, that's what you do first thing. There is a sewer line and a water line, both, somebody has punched through our drain. We don't know who. Well, I mean, it would be those entities, and I don't know how you fix that, but you can see where they bored right through it. So it is something we gotta crawl up there, but we did get with Jim Davis and asked him if he would either write a maintenance thing or fix everything. We got that much garbage down in the bottom of that, it's tarmac and stuff that, granted, the tile should be big enough, but that kind of stuff we never like to see. So, it would be great to redo underneath where the township fire department is there, down to M43. And I reached out to Chad Mancarelli, the engineer on this, and I said, you know, should this be part of the petition? And he said, no, he's hoping, and we do a lot on hope, that Jim Davis will simply step up from MDOT. He's our MDOT drain guy, and give us some money to do those corrections to help downstream. But I know Woodland was flooded this last spring, but it was flooded all the way down across Main Street to the north. I mean, it was all underwater. So there's still, I'm not sure how we take care of that issue. So.
Sounds like it needs to be addressed.
We're trying to look at it, whether it's something, I've walked all the way downstairs in Parrott, and it's open. It's a nice wide ditch, there's no issues in it. We're, like I say, Chad's thinking that it's probably right at the M43 thing, and if we can get Jim Davis to pay for it, then they did, I talked to Randy Geiger, and they upsized from M43 north quite a number of years ago, and the township actually paid for that. But under M43, if we can get Jim Davis to do that, I think that's really gonna help this too, so.
Just,
Yes.
because I want to be able to discuss this over at Woodland Village and Woodland
Yeah.
Township. How much is the bid you think you're going to take to do this work?
That's 152,000.
And who's the contractor?
Randy Meyer,
Okay. When do you think that work would start?
I think he's planning after the first of the year. And it's substantial completion, if I remember right. We got the contract. Substantial, final completion May 31st, which means we want to see grass growing everywhere by then. Substantial completion April 30th, so the farmers can get back in there. We don't want to screw up their planting, because pretty much all this work is in the fields.
Okay.
So.
Additional questions?
The 152 was just the contractor, right?
Yeah, he's responsible for the catch basins and the labor and the sand and all that stuff. We buy the pipe that connects the parts.
So the total is around 340 something?
Yep.
The difference would be the tile, would be the other 100 and
No,
some thousand?
I think I got a comp cost here. Somewhere.
And I'm sorry, Jim, I forgot, it was 348 or total?
343 is the.
343?
343 and change.
You're fine, let me stop down and I'll look at it.
There's the bid specs if you want, anybody wants to read the manual. The tile, I think, was about 70,000 that, so.
Okay.
We had some, I don't think we had to pay for any easements on this one. There was some other work downstream from Rick's upstream. One of the banks, there's a tile comes in and that's blown out. They're gonna fix that. They gotta do some dipping. I know I got that comp cost here. Yeah, there it is. So you got engineering through bid, it's 35,000, 5,000 in legal for day of review, all that good stuff. 64,288 from ADS. Randy Myers is 152,812.24. Construction staking, inspection, so they make sure everything's done according to the bid. Postage and handling, finance borrowing, and interest. We have to capitalize interest because there's no money coming in before the first payments. So, yeah, 343, and then contingency. By code, we have to add at least 10% for contingency. That basically becomes your maintenance going forward. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. If there are no further questions, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners adoption of Resolution 23-24, a resolution pledging full faith and credit of the County of Berry within constitutional limitations for payment of the MacArthur Drainage District drain bonds.
So moved.
Support Campbell.
Motion by Colton, support by Campbell, to recommend to the Board of Commissioners adoption of Resolution 23-24, resolution pledging full faith and credit of the County of Berry within constitutional limitations for the payment of the MacArthur Drainage District drain bonds. Additional discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And if anybody wants a copy of any of this good stuff, we can make copies. It's just, Liz said we're killing a lot of trees by bringing everything up in paper copy.
I believe it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Appreciate it much.
Yep. Next up, Tammy Price, approval of fiscal year 2024 adult specialty court grants. There she is.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tammy. Go ahead.
This is a pretty easy one. There are 7 grant contracts here, and those fund our Swift Insure program, our sobriety court program, and our adult drug court program. It's about 116 plus more than last year between all 7 grants, and so I'm just asking that you approve those contracts and authorize the board chair to sign those.
So it's a $116,000 increase for the combination of those 7 grants?
It's $116,656 over last year.
I'm always impressed looking at these grants because you make our board packets very fat. It was like 230 some pages. I'm like, yeah. Do you have time to do anything else other than fill out state grant applications? I mean, holy crap.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work on your part. Let me know. We appreciate everything you do to make that work and put all these together. So I just read through those and I go, no. So I'm glad you're doing it. So
Thank you.
questions for Tammy? These are standard grant agreements that we approve every year. So
Yes.
nice to know that we're getting a bump in those. So, okay. If there are no questions, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of fiscal year 2024 SCAO grant contracts for adult drug court, sobriety court, Swift Insure Sanction Probation Program, and all 7 contracts must be signed by Commissioner Chairperson David Jackson via DocuSign.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Smelker, support by Getty, to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the fiscal year 2024 SCAO grant contracts for adult drug court, sobriety court, Swift Insure Sanctions Probation Program, and all 7 contracts must be signed by Commissioner Chairperson David Jackson via DocuSign. Additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Michael Brown.
All right. This is the request to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to reappoint Chelsea Foster, Jim McManus, and Jennifer Heinzman to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for 3-year terms beginning January 1, 2024 and ending December 31, 2026. They are currently on the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. The Economic Development Authority is recommending their reappointment. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that might not be addressed in the agenda request form.
Questions for Michael Brown? These are pretty standard reappointments for us. Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to reappoint Chelsea Foster, Jim McManus, and Jennifer Heinzman to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for 3-year terms that begin January 1st, 2024 and ending December 31st, 2026.
So moved.
Motion by Hatfield, support by Tunison. To recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to reappoint Chelsea Foster, Jim McManus, and Jennifer Heitzman to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for 3-year terms beginning January 1st, 2024 and ending December 31st, 2026. Additional discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Heather Wing, waiting patiently. Morning, Heather.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners, for indulging my 11th hour request. I do know the procedure on how to get things moved through this committee. My consultant, however, did not. And it was not until yesterday, mid-morning, that I knew that I needed to come to you. So my request is for, I guess, David to be able to sign this agreement for the Agriculture Conservation Easement Program, which we just call ASEP. And it's for agriculture land easement for the Butler Farm project. So in late February, early March of this year, somewhere in there, the Butler Farm project was approved by the state funding grant. So Berry County will be receiving monies to purchase the Butler Farm development rights. In our ordinance, we have the ability to seek other fundings, and it's always been our goal to have state, federal, and local funding. And so the ASEP funding window of opportunity popped up sometime like in May, and we, the board discussed with the Butlers and Mr. Lonick the opportunity to apply for that, and he did the precursory work for that, and now the deadline for the agreements and stuff is due Monday. And so I did not know about that until yesterday, and I'm like, I gotta have 3 weeks to do this. I can't just pop it on the commissioner, so I appreciate you indulging my request. This funding from the federal government would offset the donation of the development rights that the Butlers might have to incur. So typically the state funding pays for about half of the development, and then the landowner donates the other half. The federal government would like maybe donate or provide the funding for half of what the landowner donates. This opportunity was not available when the Wickham's or the Wings farms were done, and it was primarily because of COVID. A lot of stuff federally wasn't happening, offices weren't staffed, and so when the May window popped up, they were taking, typically their application cycle is in the fall, and they just took applications from everywhere, and I think Mr. Lonick had 8 properties that he did the paperwork for in like less than 2 weeks' time. So this is now the final deadline where the chair would be able to sign the agreement, and so that we can move forward and proceed with the rest of the closings for this property.
Is there a financial dollar on what
I
you're
do not,
offsetting?
I think that they are looking for 29% of the development value of the Butler property. I do not know what that dollar amount is. The appraisal has not been completed on their property. But that is so with ASEP, you ask for a certain percentage of the development right, and I think that's right in the ballpark, about half of what the Butlers were gonna donate.
Okay. Questions from commissioners?
Heather, how many acres are we talking here?
I think their parcel is like 280, and they were gonna exclude 10 acres or so for like a on-farm building site.
I have one more question regarding when we put these in these preservations. Are they still able to put solar farms on there?
They are not.
Okay.
They can put solar on their farm for like personal use, like, you know, those little ones, you know, you see 2 or 3 little panels next to somebody's house. They can do things like that, but you cannot put a solar installation on the farm. If you try, it'll be through federal court that you'll have to fight for it.
Would the state be able to override that?
I talked to the director at Farmland Preservation, and PA 116 properties are eligible for solar installations, and I refuse to call it solar farms. It is not. It is an industrial installation. It is not farming. PA 116 grounds can be used for solar installations. They suspend their PA 116 privileges, so they are taxed fully on their land values. but in the permanent conservation easement, solar installations are not permitted. There's always the clause for eminent domain, and because of the easement on these properties, it would be a federal lawsuit to get the eminent domain enacted.
Interesting.
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Colton.
What road is this farm on?
Everett. It's at the corner of Everett and I want to say Clark.
Everett and Clark, is that then Maple Grove Township?
Yes.
Okay, is this like Jeff and Susie?
Yes.
Okay, I know where it is. Thank you.
Awesome. Additional questions?
Is this, are we approving, you need the approval today, correct?
I kind of do.
Right, we're not recommending to.
Yeah, I just kind of slapped together an agenda request. I really would really like the board to approve this and authorize the chair to sign.
So do we need to amend the
Probably.
motion there?
I know
I
it's.
apologize, I missed that. I don't see how you can. You're a committee of the whole. So if this is a final action, it will need to go to the full Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
And if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do.
Okay.
Will it meet the deadline?
I don't know. We'll deal with it.
Okay.
We'll do whatever we have to.
Good catch. Okay, the chair would recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of Agricultural Conservation Easement Program, Agricultural Land Easement, ACEP-ALE Agreement for the Butler Farm Preservation Project.
So moved.
Can you amend that to, and authorize the board chair to sign?
Sure.
Sorry to interrupt.
And authorize the board chair to sign. So, to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the Agricultural Conservation Easement Program dash Agricultural Land Easement, ACEP-AEL Agreement for the Butler Farm Preservation Project, and authorize the board chair to sign. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
Support, Doster.
Who was the motion by? Colton.
Colton.
Motion by Colton, support by Doster. To recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the Agricultural Conservation Easement Program, Agricultural Land Easement, ACEP-ALE Agreement for the Butler Farm Preservation Project, and authorize the board chair to sign it. Additional discussion?
Can I ask a question? So, not having had time, it's an application. Is it an application or is it an actual agreement?
It will be an actual agreement.
I mean, if this is entering into an agreement, then it's a final action.
Well, if we have to do it next week.
If you're submitting an application, that then will come back to you in the form of an agreement that you have the determination at that point to say we're either accepting it or we're denying it. That's the final action at that point. Again, it sounds a little bit like it's splitting hairs, but it is. As I try to figure this out.
I will
if
double
it is
check
an
with Mr. Lonick.
application, that only applies, I believe at that point you could submit the application directly from here. Again, because the agreement, you would then, it would be determined if you either receive it or not, and then you'd have a sense. And please, if there's somebody that disagrees on it, but I believe if it were simply an application, I would say you could submit it based on the action today. If it is the actual agreement, however, it would need to go to the Board of Commissioners.
I will check with Mr. Lonick today and Brian Thomas from the USDA office in Lansing.
Could we, in light of that, because I see the deadline is November 13th, which is Monday.
Yes.
Could we approve the application today? And if it's the easement, obviously it's.
This won't have the easement language in it. They won't have that done until the property is ready to close. And it'll be a while before the property is ready to
I
close.
just hate for us to miss the opportunity for the
Agreed.
application, and if we could approve the application today, then that would be ideal, and that seems to be what this is.
I will double check, but I was under the impression that it's the formal application that needs to be submitted by Monday. And then they needed to know who was authorized to sign, and I gave them that information yesterday. So I will double check with Mr. Thomas.
Not sure that the current motion covers that.
What if we had a motion to approve barring any future resubmittal? So it would hold up as taking action unless it was necessary for it to be resubmitted. Does that make sense?
Trying to figure out the wording on that, but you're saying that this is in fact an application?
I believe it is, but I'm not 100% certain. I'm so unfamiliar with the ASEP program. Mr. Lonick is actually the expert on that. He does these routinely in his townships. The only properties that we have in Berry County that are have even applied for ASEP is the Carpenter Farm project, and they had an extension, and Mr. Lonick has handled all of that work for us.
Why don't we do this in two separate motions? One would be to approve an application. The other would be to recommend to the board approval of the agreement. That way we're covered either way.
Okay.
So you have a motion for the agreement. Just take act on that and then approve a second motion approving an application.
I like this. It says the chair would entertain a motion to approve the application of the easement program, agricultural land easement, ACEP-AEL agreement for the Butler Farm Preservation Project and authorize the board chair to sign it. Does that?
It's stating it's an application.
To my knowledge, that's what it is, but like I said, I'm unaware, and it was quite late yesterday before I could even talk to Mr. Lonick, and by then the offices were closed here.
If it's determined it isn't an application, then it would come back before the board.
Yep, it'll have to come back on Tuesday anyways, so.
Okay. Commissioner Colton and Commissioner Doster, do you agree with the amendment to your motion?
Yes.
Okay. Just to restate this, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the application of the easement program agricultural land easement, ACEP-ALE agreement for the Butler Farm Preservation Project and authorize the board chair to sign it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Heather, if you'd communicate with Michael on the details on this.
I will do my
and
best.
If we have to amend this, backdate it, postdate it, redate it, whatever the
We
case
will
is.
do what we
make it
gotta
work.
do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that verbiage. Good thinking. Limited public comment. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the board may do so for up to 3 minutes. You're down to 2:58. We're cutting 2 seconds off your time, son.
I protest. Joel Ibbotson, Rutland Township. Colette Scrimger is a liar. Just want to make sure everyone's clear about that.
I really take exception to, a personal attack as a comment in front of this board.
I do too.
I respect that, but there are plenty of case laws that go to demonstrate that I have, or I should say case opinions, that demonstrate that I have the right to opine. So respectfully, I disagree with you.
Well, then I think, you need to state it as in your opinion.
I don't need to. I can conclusively demonstrate that as fact. Reclaiming my time.
Yes, we'll restart your time.
Colette Scrimger is a liar. Now, the health department is using preferred pronouns in their email. One of the things I have, they're now pronouns, not preferred pronouns. Women's rights. We can look at gender-assigned bathrooms, the history of that. I believe it was in the 1730s when France instituted bathrooms, or gender-segregated bathrooms at the Paris Ball. So that was firmly established at that point in time. Massachusetts then later in 1887 passed an act giving women the right to have their own bathroom in factories and other establishments. The government at this point in time seems to be hell-bent and determined on giving women's rights to everyone, including men. Whether I happen to be at the health department or the road commission, if I see a male walk in the bathroom after my daughter, I'm going to jail. To our friends up in the north, in Canada that is, I've spent a lot of time in Canada. There's a Canadian MP, his name is Pierre Poilievre. I'd recommend that a number of you listen to what he's saying about what's going on in Canada, the events up there. I predict they're probably about 2 or 3 years ahead of us as far as the economy is concerned. He has a thing that he says about Justin Trudeau, how he is not worth the cost. And I really like that. I don't remember exactly what Colette Scrimger's salary is. If I remember correctly, it's in the 6-figure range. She is not worth the cost. She has brought nothing positive to this county that I can see. She is not legal. She is not lawful. Her position requires an oath of office, even as opined by your lawyer. This is something that the attorney of Berry County stated, that it would be prudent for her to hold an oath of office. And it's not like this is some far-fetched legal phenomena or whatever, this goes all the way back to Attorney General Otto Kirchner of the state of Michigan in the 1800s. The health officer must take and prescribe to an oath of office. Lastly, please look at sheriff's officers, or the sheriff deputies, their retirement age and income. Lastly, Hastings has a special meeting this Wednesday at 6 p.m. for the special appointment to replace Ward 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public comment? Come on.
I'm old enough that I can be slow. Finally, I'm old enough to be slow.
What age is that? No. I just wondered if I had claimed that right, too.
Years ago, when I taught school, and my children would say, "How old are you, teacher?" I was 114. They all accepted that. So that was several years ago. You can add on whatever numbers you want. In listening to your interviews today, especially for Charlton Park, or not for Charlton Park, for Parks and Recs and Charlton Park, it seemed to me more to be an information questions, as it was questions to see if they qualified to be on that commission. I'm wondering if it might not be prudent to have someone come from that board just simply to answer information questions, because it kind of became questionable as to whether you were interviewing someone for the board or if we were interviewing the commissioner who sits on that board. I think maybe if you had more information about what this commission was doing, then the questions might also be different and be pertinent to, what they can do for this board and for the many parks in this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said. Additional public comment? Commissioner comments. Commissioner Tunison?
What I'm going to say today is more about a young man who lost his life. Why I'm going to say this is that he was a third-generation tow hauler for Wrecker Service his family built, and the reason why I'm talking about this, because he has earned respect. It was amazing to me. He lost his life Saturday. There was a procession within 4 hours of 50 to 75 tow trucks that came all the way from Grand Rapids and followed his father all the way back to town. And that tells me what, he was 26 years old. And why I'm talking about this is that we go by wreckers all the time on the expressway going 70 miles an hour, 75. Don't even think about the people there, they're helping someone. And what I realized about that tow family is that they're just like a fallen officer. You will see tow trucks here from every state in this nation to pay their respects for this young man who deserved it, because he did everything right in life. He cared about people. And I just want people to stop and think, when you're driving by these wreckers on the highway going that fast, they want to go home to their families too. So I would think people think about that, hopefully, as we're carrying on our lives and we get to go home to our families. So I just wanted to take a little time and talk about him. He deserves this. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Campbell.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to apologize for getting a little off track in the application process. Sometimes my brain just jumps into something. So I do apologize for that, and your comments were very well taken. Pertaining to earlier comments, I do sit on the health board. I'm the vice chair. I work hand in hand with Colette Scringer. I've never known in my doings with Colette that there's ever been any untruths or innuendos that would even make me think that about her. She's always very professional, keeps me up to date, calls me with changes or possibilities of changes, and I just want that to be known that I have not seen those things in my relationship with Colette Scringer. Also, I'd like to let everybody know this is a big week for veterans, remembering our veterans and what they've done for our country. John, myself, on Friday at 1:30, they'll have a special assembly at the Delton High School. I am a part of that program. And also at VFW 422 in Delton, which I'm the commander out there, we have a special program set up. We'll give a free meal for veterans at 5 o'clock. The meal for anybody else with them is only $5. 6:30, we'll have another special tribute for veterans. If you know of any veterans, please let them know about these. It's special days for them, special days of recognition, and hopefully that it's only a reminder that we should thank veterans every day of the year for what we have here in Berry County and the rest of the world. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Vice Chair Hatfield.
No comment.
Commissioner Smelker.
Only thing I got to mention is I believe there's 4 of us on this board, isn't there? Beth, Steve,
Yep.
Mike.
Commissioner Dalton.
So, thank you, fellas. That's all I got.
Commissioner Getty.
Thanks for bringing to attention the Veterans Service. Yankee Springs also has a service on Saturday at 11:11 at the fire station.
Nothing.
Okay. Commissioner Doster.
I think that when you state it during public comment that someone is a liar, that is a personal attack, and personal attacks are not allowed at public meetings. I mean, it's kind of the ultimate personal attack, because you're saying that person shouldn't be listened to and that nothing that they say is true. Well, that may be the case, but a public forum is not the place to be espousing that. We wouldn't allow a personal attack on other people for what they do or what they wear or what they say or what, I don't know. In my view, that it would be nice if we didn't allow that in the future.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, and I appreciate your comments, Commissioner Tunison. I know the Spencer family, and that is a loss for our community. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. That is a loss for our community, so we'll keep them in our thoughts and prayers. I know the funeral services,
Saturday.
Visitation is Friday, and I think the funeral's Saturday, so. But thank you all for coming. Have a great day.